Hey, good afternoon everybody. TGIF, hey, we made another week. Thank goodness, it's been a long one. Alright, well this is part 2 of our big town sign that we've, last weekend on our Sunday evening blog, we talked about the design and the layout of the sign itself, going out on site. We've told you that this weekend, from our Wednesday midweek shout out, that we may not have all of it. Well, this is the section that I may not have done only because these are just, we're just getting to the backs now. It's Friday. We're going to at least blow one of them out today. The other one will be run this weekend. We probably won't start milling the fascias with all the scenery and whatnot until Monday or Tuesday, okay? We've had a lot on our plate. What else? In the first half of this, which will be attached to the blog this weekend, we've already edited it. It's good to go. We're basically talking about the setup for the fabrication process. Running your boards, how we ran them through our DeWalt planer to take out cups and take out high spots. Running the edges through our little joiner planer, our little benchtop porta cable, so that we could get a nice glue seam. What else? Yes, I completely forgot. I don't know where my mind's been, but I didn't pick up any larger pipe stock. So we weren't able to glue and clamp. We had to do the 2 boards at a time, and then when we pieced the whole project together, we walked you through that. We basically used a Craig jig system, but please don't forget to take the screws out. All right. Make sure you've got a screw that isn't going to stick up so much, because I told you, even if you had to go down and buy a box of screws, it's still better because the bit goes too deep, your screw is too high, you could break a $25, $30+ or more carbide bit. Well, that's going to far exceed the cost of that box of a little bit of screws, okay? We've got our factory spoiler board here. We've got the top of the machine frame here. My spoiler board and then the material. I set a screw in place. I got plenty of clearance because, again, the back is only 2-dimensional. I'm only going down maybe 80, 90 thousandths. 100 tops, but for the most part, we're not going that deep. So I'm in no fear of hitting this. Now, when I go to do the fascias, I told you I'm going to probably go down close to 3/8, 375 thousandths. I think that would hit, and if that's the case, well, that's going to damage a brand new 1/2-inch 2-fluted end mill, and that I don't want. Okay. The other thing I do before I start any of this process, because of all the humidity this morning, I throw a straight edge on my material, I put an eye under it, alright? What had happened was by putting the screws in after I ran the spoiler board, I did suck the middle down a little bit, and I had kind of like a cup in the middle. This is what would happen. You bring your V-bit in to do your carving for the actual thank you for visiting Northumberland. Your middle is going to engrave perfect. What's going to happen is when you get to the outer edge that's lifted or risen a little bit higher, you're going to have 75 thousandths here, you're going to have 100 thousandths here. The font's going to look very unproportionate. So what we did, we put the spoiler board bit back in. I told you everything I start, my datum off dead center. I just took like 5 thousandths, starting from the middle. So by the time I got up here, it took just a little bit more off, nothing major. I put my straight edge on and I'm flat. Now, the last thing I'll mention here, as I told you, we ran all of our edges, less the outside, because we have the clamps on those. Had we had clamps long enough. But what I ended up doing again was I used the Craig jig. Don't forget to take the screws out. Well, by running them through the joiner planer, what had happened was I took them from 37 down to 36 3/4. Now, that 1/4 inch may not seem like that big of a deal, but by the time we drop the V-bit and we get that 250 thousandths depth for that nice bevel, by the time we do the offset off of that and we go to drop in the end mill, even with this thing screwed in, if there's not enough material, one of the edges is going to get really nasty, and it's going to really create an eyesore, in my opinion, in the finishing process. All right. So what I'm going to do is I've got the 90-degree V-bit in here right now. I've already touched the top of my my center on the top of the material. I'm going to program a quick little zip around this at like 5 thousandths in depth. I just want to see where everything is going to be. Because I have lost that 1/4 of an inch, I may have to readjust my x-axis. We know that y was 25 to the center. For my y-axis travel, my halfway point was 25 inches, and halfway in on 37 is 18.5, but now I've lost that 1/4 of an inch, and trust me, when projects this big, that little 1/4 of an inch can make a big difference, okay? So I'm going to run and readjust my x-axis if necessary. The client has left it in my discrepancy though, because in my opinion as well, the bevel isn't going to be seen going by in a car on the highway at 50 miles an hour. So if we can still leave it in, we will. If we can't, we'll do away with it. We'll cut the outside edge, and basically it will end up saving us. It'll give us a little more wiggle room on the cutout for the outer edges, okay? Alright, everybody stay tuned. Again, I apologize that this may not be with the Sunday evening blog. We may not get this part out until midweek. We will reattach it to the blog though, and we'll give you all a shout out. Okay? Stay tuned. We've got more to come. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. And no, I am most certainly not being sarcastic. Whew. Well, anyways, as we told you in the beginning of this on Friday, we were going to be working through the weekend. We're working on the backs of our signs. We have since made a few revisions. We'll discuss those right now real quick, okay? We told you that the bevel was getting very close to the edge. Well, I ended up pulling the bevel out. It's secured underneath. All 4 corners are screwed. It's secured solid, but nonetheless, I didn't want to risk damaging the edge, so we did away with the bevel. What we have done, and this is the last of the backside. We told you this was the 2.0 dimension engraving. Thank you for visiting Northumberland. We did take a 90-degree V-bit, and I did an inner border. That's going to be strictly for the finishing end of this, so that I know exactly where to paint, because this does have a nice green rim on it, okay? The other thing that I revised and put in was, this is again the backside. I've got a kind of a countersink that can hold a drill bit. The bit's like 156 thousandths, but the shank on this fits inside the collet. However, the countersink on this is not, the diameter is too small to work with the screws. So we're going to go back. We've gone in and we've milled out in the center of that border, on that 2-inch outer border. We went dead center. The way we figure our center here is you can take your outer rim, and when we figured it out in the program on the first part of the Sunday evening blog, weekend before this one, we basically deducted for the 2-inch border 4 inches all the way around. It gave us a 2-inch. By figuring it that way, our outer was 36 by 48. We ended up taking it down to 44 by 32. We basically copied, repasted it, and then we set it for 32 by 44. Well, instead, copy that outer border, minimize only 2 inches off of it, and it will give you the framework for dead center on the border. I've basically taken this, I've gone around every 6 inches on center, and we've countersunk a hole. We've only gone down, this right now is 1 3/8, give or take 10 thousandths, and I've only gone deep enough so that I'm still going to have to run a clean hole through with a hand drill, which is fine, I want it that way. Now, I'm basically using a 90-degree V-bit, the same one that I used to do my inner border with, for the same cut depth as my font, which coincidentally the client wanted Lucida calligraphy for the interior font on this, okay? We're going to go back now and we're going to basically use a drilling toolpath function. We're going to put all our countersinks in. I'm only going to go down about 250 thousandths, 250, 275, because I only want about half of the screw to go into the back side of the fascia, which coincidentally we'll be shooting the remainder of the video on that, and then we'll shoot the 4th segment on the assembly. As I told you, we're going to end up releasing this throughout the week as it becomes available. I'll work in the evening to get the video edited and put out there for all of you, okay? I won't keep you. Our next segment will be the 2.5 with the fascias going in, hogging out the center, and then using the 60-degree V-bit to clean up. As soon as that fascia comes off the table, I'll unscrew the one off the wall and we'll immediately start assembly right then and there, okay? But for now, we're going to finish this one up. We're going to give a little bit of countersink, and then we'll give you a quick video of what we mean as to how close we are on the edges cutting this out, okay? But I won't by any means make you sit through a 20-minute cutout, alright? Alright, everybody. Alright, well hey, good afternoon everybody. We have finished our backs. They are done, they're milled. I told you I slowed my edges down if you were looking for an IPM speed as far as inches per minute. I ended up cutting these out at about 60. Yes, I know it creates excess heat on the end mill, but like I told you, and you'll see in the previous videos, in this particular segment on the milling of the two-dimensional backs, you'll see how much, or actually how little material there is around the outer edges when the end mill did finally go through to cut out. And on the back side at the top, the bit was really, in some areas I had just a whisker of material, and in some cases, because the blank was not absolutely 100%, it was out a little bit on top of the spoiler board, but it was enough so that if we slowed it down, we got a clean edge. Now, I don't know if you can see them. I will apologize. We're kind of in a low light area right here. The shop doors are there, but we countersunk everything. And what we're going to do next today, we're going to end up using our spoiler board bit to flatten out the glued and clamped pieces excuse me, for our fascia. So we'll be ready to start the 2.5 dimensional engraving first thing Tuesday morning, okay? And as we go, like I said, we'll end up installing this video in segments. We basically wanted to show you how nice it did actually come out. If you can see the engraving, we're 90 thousandths deep. I told you we put a 90-degree V-bit. Now that you can see this so much clearer, I hope. We found our center lines. This V-bit that's in here, right here, to make this little, to end up making this so that we have some type of reference. I'll paint this green by hand, and then the rest of it from below on the underside. The trim will be painted green, just like you saw in the first weekend of how we were trying to reproduce the original sign itself, okay? All in all, though, I'm happy with this. I know my client will be pleased. We'll go into a little bit more detail how to secure it and how to actually do that, but that'll be for the assembly. Like I said, this ends the two-dimensional engraving for the back side of our sign. I hope everybody got something useful out of it. As always, if you have any questions, please just shoot us an email, steve@littlewoodshop.com, and I'll get back to you and answer your question as promptly as I can, okay? Everybody, enjoy the remainder of your day.